Welcome to A Year of Career, 52 Practical Answers to Your Questions. I'm Erin Wolfram. I own and operate Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf, where I help people feel more confident and prepared throughout their job search by helping with resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, mock interviews. I also help with personal portfolios and websites, so really just anything job search related. But each week in this podcast, I answer one question from the public. And this week's question is, what are some tips when asking for a raise? So first, I would recommend, considering when you want to ask for a raise. There are probably certain times of the year that are better than others or more appropriate than others. So a couple that come in mind first would be around the time of your annual evaluation. That is a time where you are already talking about your skills, strengths, and qualifications. So it seems that that would be an appropriate time to talk about salary. That may be a typical time when, bonuses are given out or, raises are given out. So during your annual evaluation is often a good time to potentially ask for a raise in salary. Another time to think about would be when your administration does their budgeting, forecasting for the following year. So it's likely that, the budget is set for the current year. They can't budge. They can't give any raises at this time because the budget has been set for this current year. But think about when they are planning for the next year, because you definitely want to have that conversation about a salary increase before the budget is set for the following year. So those are just a couple of quick tips as far as timing and when you might want to have that conversation with your supervisor regarding a salary increase. So if you have decided that you do want to negotiate your salary and ask for an increase and you have figured out when you want to do that, the next steps, of course, are to prepare for that conversation. So the first thing that I would recommend is, utilizing websites and, online tools to figure out what the sort of common salary is for a person in your position, in your geographic region, with your amount of education and your number of years of experience. So do some research, get out there and look on sites like Glassdoor, PayScale, Indeed, maybe even LinkedIn. See if you can find some information about salary for, people in your industry. But again, you want to try to look at people with, comparable education, experience, etc. as you have. And don't forget to keep in mind that geographic location plays a big role in salary because of cost of living differences. So, of course, it's going to cost more to live in New York City than it is in Wyoming, most likely. So, folks in New York City with the exact same title as people in Wyoming may be getting paid more simply because of the cost of living. So there are also cost of living calculators out there that you can look at as well. So once you kind of find that typical range, then obviously look at your current salary and see where that falls. And if it's significantly lower, then that's certainly something that you want to document. If it's kind of, in that range, but you're a little bit lower than that upper cap, again, that's something good to document. And if you're above that range already, then you have to think like, okay, do I have, certain values and, skills and attributes that I can, persuade them that I, deserve even more money than what I'm already getting. And we'll talk about that more here in just a minute. But anyway, do your research, figure out kind of that, that typical range, and that'll kind of help give you a baseline and help you consider, how much more you would like to request when you do talk about a salary increase. So the next thing that I would recommend that you do is really, think about your assets. So think about the last time that you received a raise and write down anything that you have done since then that has, developed your skill set. So maybe you earned another degree. Maybe you earned, some certificates or licensures. Maybe you have taken some, professional development courses, or um, took on, a leadership role in a professional organization. All of those things are, experiences that you have had, experiences that you have proactively sought to gain skills, to, develop yourself personally and professionally, and have allowed you to gain, those skills and strengths that then you can give back in some way to your organization. So make a list of all of those things that you have done as far as, professional development, personal development, related to your job, that you feel you have gained skills and qualifications that have actually allowed you to give back to your organization in some way, to give value to your organization in some way. So that's the first list that I would make in anticipation for the salary increase conversation. The second list that I would make is thinking about, again, the last time that you received a raise, and write down if you have taken on any new responsibilities or new duties within your position. So, think about, not only just like typical duties and responsibilities, but have you started supervising more individuals? Supervising even one or two more individuals than you were before, that is a lot of work. And so, that is an increase of your responsibility. So that could be something that you could write down. Maybe you, took on an additional event, or you started teaching an additional course or something like that. So just think about anything additional that you have taken on since the last time you earned a raise. Now, if you took on something, but then you let something else go, that could kind of even out and be a wash. So what I'm saying is, any additional things that you have taken on, duties, responsibilities, roles, things like that, without giving anything else up. Because that can show that you are giving more to different areas of the organization, and therefore, that could convince them that you do deserve more money. So those are the main things that I would consider, is really just, what have you done? What have you added to your plate? What have you added as far as, professional skills and things like that since the last time that you received a raise? And those are the things that you're going to want to bring to the table when you have that conversation, to convince your supervisor that you are worth that additional amount of money. And that's what it's all about. It's worth. What is your worth? What is your value to the organization? And is that worth an additional, $5,000 a year, or whatever it may be? Now, one thing just to consider is, I know right now a lot of budgets are really tight, and there may not be a lot of wiggle room for salary increases, which can be extremely frustrating because, everything else, the cost of everything else, health insurance, food, etc., is going up. And so if you are not getting a raise or haven't received a raise in a long time, that can be really discouraging. But sometimes you have to remember that it's just not in the budget. And while your supervisor may want to reward you in some way with a salary increase, it's just not possible. So thinking about that, don't get too discouraged, because there may be some other things that you could negotiate. And you could, if you're informed, unfortunately our budget just wouldn't allow for that right now, or doesn't allow for that right now, maybe you could negotiate for a couple of extra vacation days a year, or maybe you could negotiate to work from home one day a week. So, think about other things that might be of value to you that, could help you, with your work-life balance or something like that, that may not necessarily be a salary increase, but could still be something that you could get to kind of, reward you in a way for that increase of responsibility or that, professional growth that you've experienced. So, think creatively about that and don't get too discouraged if the answer is no, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not valued. It just simply may be that it's not in the budget right now. So, do your research before going in to talk about salary. Make sure that you're doing it at an appropriate time when budgets are either being discussed or evaluations are occurring. Like I said earlier, really know the range, the salary range, the typical salary range for someone who has your skills and experience level, and then know yourself and know what you have done that's sort of above and beyond since the last time that you earned a raise. So hopefully those tips will help you kind of get organized for that conversation, and you will be able to get a little bit of a salary bump next time you think that you deserve one. So if you would like to talk more about salary negotiation or anything career development related, I'm always available to help. You can check out my websites at careeradvantageresumes.com or careeradvantagegolf.com. I'm also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can find me at Career Advantage Resumes, and on Twitter, it's Advantage Career. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great day.